I didn't quite expect to see you here, now did I? This must be the Lost Legacies podcast, my favorite podcast. Tell you what, why don't we give those two crazy lads a good holiday gift? Like, subscribe, leave a review on their podcast. I'm sure they would appreciate it. Now, let's all remember, we must also look after each other. It's been a very difficult year for most of us. So, if you are going to visit your family this holidays, remember to social distance, wear a mask, and, pardon my language, but maybe once in our lives we can actually give a damn about someone else. And then, hopefully this time next year, we can see our families for the holidays without the imminent threat of death. So have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Oh, and to the great state of Georgia, one of my favorite states, don't forget to vote. Don't let the man shackle you down and vote those bastards out. Ho, 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 ho! I will see you all next year. Bye!
That was weird. Did you see that, Sam? Who was that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I could swear someone was in here. Smells like pine trees and candy canes.
Yeah,
and a little bit of sweat.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's get this podcast going. Cue theme song. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all of the above. Welcome back to Lost Legacies. This is our bonus special Christmas episode, and also our first episode that has absolutely nothing to do with Lost. When we originally started this podcast, it was just going to be about, a little bit of everything. So now it is. Sam, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Matt.
So, we don't really know what we're going to do, except we're going to talk about Christmas stuff.
Yeah. All things Christmas. Maybe.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Where do you want to start?
I don't know.
At the beginning. No. So let's start with, I believe, we'll just tackle the controversy first. Well, not really controversy, but it is controversial.
Uh-oh.
Die Hard. Is it a Christmas movie or is it not a Christmas movie? Now, we could do a whole episode on this. We can dissect this. However, something recently happened because I've always been in the camp of no, I don't think it is. I think it has Christmas stuff in it and there's Christmas references, but I don't know, just the vibe of it. The ultra violence, which I'm usually pretty fine with, but I never really thought it was a Christmas story. And the fact that John McClane has to save his wife Holly by stripping her of the symbol of her independence, that just doesn't ring holiday cheer for me.
Dang. Yeah.
That being said, there was a video that came out. I think it's Screen Rant. And they broke it down by the numbers. And as we all know, Sam, science never lies. So they counted all the Christmas references, Christmas trees, the time they said the word Christmas, different Christmas references or sayings. And Die Hard actually beats out a lot of Christmas classics. I think they do Home Alone. They do Miracle at 34th Street and another one. Did you see the video, Sam?
Yes, I did. I don't remember the other movie that they.
Okay, neither do I.
They tackled.
But as far as references go, like, okay, I get it. But I don't know, it just feels like the kind of vain, like it's just the wrapping paper, it's just trees in the background,
Mhm.
And I don't know. But what I did like is they do point out all the reasons why it's not really a Christmas story, like all the F-bombs, all the murders, all the explosions. But they ended with saying like what makes a Christmas movie a Christmas movie. And it's like the kind of the selfless act,
Mhm.
altruism. And I was like, okay, yeah. Like the kind of the hero's arc in there. I was like, all right, I guess, yeah, John McClane does step up. He is a hero. So does the cop. So I can see the argument for it. But then Sam sent me a text that says no. From at Jacob_Brogan on Twitter. And he says, actually, Die Hard, a story about a desperate insurgency against a vastly superior invading force, requiring the near miraculous marshaling of limited resources, is a Hanukkah movie. That's interesting. I never thought of it. I mean, I obviously, neither of us are Jewish, so I don't know a lot about Hanukkah. But if Joseph Brogan says so, I'll believe it, man. With a name like Brogan, I believe it.
That's true. That's true. I think first of all, I think Bruce Willis even came out and said that it's not a Christmas movie. So, like, theoretically, that should be the end of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't like to do that around here. We like to play by our own rules. And I think, especially considering, just like, well, I mean, just, considering that, like, one, it takes place at Christmas time. I feel like, sure, maybe this could have happened at any other point in time, or holiday or whatever. But I think the fact that it takes place during Christmas, I think that's what makes it special, and that's kind of what elevates it, amongst like, action movies and even Christmas movies. Let's not, let's also not, beat around the bush here. It was like the story of Joseph and Mary trying to find a place, to sleep at night so that she can, so they can rest and all that. It's taught with violence, it's just scary stuff. King David is over here saying he's gonna, kill everybody. He's specifically looking for Christ, and yeah, it's like it's pretty violent already. The Bible, I feel like most people don't know this. It's actually pretty violent.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anything, I think the violence and the swears are more realistic and technically more Christmas-like.
Okay, all right, I can get behind that. That actually makes a lot of sense.
I'm glad you agree.
I wish I had the tweet because someone posted it somewhere recently, but I like so many tweets, like I can't find it right now. It's all Expanse tweets right now. But someone tweeted basically their love for Die Hard 2. And it was a pretty cool tweet. I wish I could find it. And I kind of have always felt that Die Hard 2 was more of a Christmas story than Die Hard 1. I feel like
Probably.
Die Hard 1, it's a time and place, Whereas Die Hard 2 kind of feels more maybe of the themes, John McClane's it's the same, but Holly is in more control this time. Even her name, Holly. She's kind of in more control and she has to do things on her end. And it seems almost, I don't know, just like the twist ending it's not even a twist ending, but the fact that John McClane falling off the plane and then lighting it on fire, to me, that's just magical. And to take you even further, when I first watched Die Hard, I don't know, I was a kid and it was on TV, so it was super edited. So when all the soldiers, who you later find out are bad, and they go off, I think the line is like, "Let's go kick their asses." On TV, it says, "Let's go kick some heads." I was like, yeah, I like that. But the Die Hard line that makes Die Hard, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker." They obviously can't say it on TV. So John McClane, in this edited version, he falls off the wing of the plane. He rolls onto the tarmac. He sees the trail of gasoline, and he pulls out like the lighter. He's like, "Merry Christmas, Mr. Falcon." And he lights it, blows up the plane. It's a Christmas miracle, especially, Sam, because there is no character in the movie named Mr. Falcon. To me, as a kid,
remember that.
To me as a kid, I just loved it. I was like, yes. So
yeah, I remember that. I remember watching that and being very confused, even as a child.
Yeah.
Oh geez, I think there's a whole. I don't know if there's like a video. There probably is. I think there's a video essay talking about that the art of the TV edit or something like that. Yeah, and so it's just talking about how that for kind of a generation, these very graphic, very violent movies, their first interaction with those movies were probably the edited for TV versions. So how does that differ? How do they compare? Are some of them better than the actual movies? And then also it just I think it might also go into something like not artistic value, but artistic licensing. It's like you are essentially editing out portions of somebody's art to make it more consumable and marketable. So it's like, and how is that technically legal? Things like that. I'm starting to think maybe this video doesn't actually exist.
Oh no.
Well, if it doesn't, and somebody decides to make it after this, please just give me a credit on at the end of your video. That's you can use my Twitter handle and everything. That's all.
It's either the Mandela effect or the government just erased it.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Because they don't want such rebellious ideas out into the world, Sam.
Exactly.
Rev it down, Sam. Rev it down. So,
speaking of rebellion,
what?
I was going to say, speaking of rebellion.
Oh. You can't just end a sentence like that. Speaking of rebellion.
You were going to say something and I cut you off. And so now I feel bad.
Well, what I was going to say had nothing to do with rebellion.
Okay.
Oh, man. But okay, I'm scrolling through my Twitter here trying to find a Die Hard tweet. I can't find it, but I did find an article I retweeted about the missing song from the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah. I was just thinking about that the other day.
So I don't remember. Is it on Disney Plus now, that song, or is it just the Blu-ray?
I think it's just the Blu-ray. If I'm remembering right, because I'm trying to think back. I think last year I saw Muppet Christmas Carol day before Christmas or Christmas Day. Yeah. At least as from what I remember last year, that song is not on Disney Plus.
Okay, so for everyone listening, I don't really remember this exactly, but the song is between young Scrooge, right?
Young Scrooge and his, I think her name is Belle. She's essentially the woman of his dreams. They plan to get married, and then he decides that his business is more important, and she decides to leave him, and she has a whole song about it. Because
I guess I remember that, because I do remember That's the only song where they sing together, right?
No.
There's more? Because I remember like that part of the movie as a kid, it's really slow and it slows down the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't like that they took it out because one, I'm not a fan of taking stuff out like that, like George Lucas does, or editing post-release.
Yeah.
However, a lot of people were complaining and saying, no, like that's the version we grew up on with as kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that song was on the VHS tapes, but it
Yeah.
wasn't on the TV versions.
Really?
So a lot of people grew up since then without it, and I don't think they didn't place it like when it moved to DVD. So this new Blu-ray or whatever, I think it has both versions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And the song is called, I don't remember. However, this does say Die Hard and Muppet Christmas Carol topped BBC Radio 2's best of Christmas movie polls.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to say, just in terms of Christmas Carol adaptations, I don't think you can get any better than A Muppet Christmas Carol. What other version of the Christmas Carol has Charles Dickens in it?
Yes. And one, that song is called When Love Is Gone.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just a brilliant, heartbreaking title for a Christmas song. But a lot of people were saying that the Christmas Carol is almost the best movie translation of the original book. Like a lot of the dialogue and passages in that movie are lifted straight out of the book.
In Muppet Christmas Carol?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're saying because so many versions take liberties over it, but the Muppets technically is the most accurate because they use most of the dialogue.
Well, yeah. Again, you have Gonzo as Charles Dickens narrating the movie.
Right.
So yeah, that just makes sense that they would lift, whole passages or something or descriptions. It's like, yeah, okay, sure, we get, some songs in between here. Kermit gets to sing, only one more sleep till Christmas, like all of that stuff. But yeah, it's
really
I think it, in terms of like other Christmas carols, yeah, I guess it would be like the closest.
Now this is a throwback, Sam.
Okay.
But on your previous podcast, Overexposed.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all talked about this movie.
We did.
This was your Christmas selection, right?
Yeah.
And y'all had this craziest talk about what would you translate to film as a Muppet version? Do you remember what your pick was?
I think I may have said the Odyssey.
Okay. Because that was my pick.
Okay.
So now I feel like I gotta find another.
Well, I don't remember. Well, you can still have that. I would actually say I think Pride and Prejudice would be a fantastic Muppet adaptation.
That would be cool. Pride and Prejudice, Odyssey. I was thinking of Mario Puzo's The Godfather.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, but to stay on brand here, let's really take it out of the park. What could we adapt into a Christmas story? Something that wasn't originally Christmas and turn it into a Christmas story.
And turn it into a Christmas story?
Yeah. I guess kind of like Die Hard was, like we just said it. You could set it in the summertime and nothing changes. But they just decided to change it or set it at Christmas.
Die Hard is also an adaptation of like a noir book.
I think it's more of the concept.
Yeah. I remember seeing something where it was like it only got so far in like the script development that it was like very close to that original novel, and then the studios just didn't want it, so they just decided to revise a bunch of it, and it became Die Hard. Yeah, and I think the Christmas stuff was some of the stuff that they added just to make it different. Nice. Okay. This is just the first movie that came to mind, but Aliens. James Cameron's Aliens as a Christmas movie. I think
That's interesting.
technically Prometheus is a Christmas movie. Because Idris Elba does have a Christmas tree up in the thing, but I think that's also part of a deeper conversation of what exactly makes a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
So I think we should answer some of that first. But my initial gut reaction was just like, oh, aliens. You know, you've got you have this force that's going out there trying to keep people alive. You tie in the whole theme of like motherhood. That's essentially like some of the stuff that comes in even in like the Home Alone movies, you know? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point about the motherhood. As soon as you said that, I thought of oh, man, I'm so embarrassed I don't remember the name.
Maybe I do.
Moonlight.
Okay.
Because it's like the opposite. Like that whole movie is about his dysfunctional relationship with his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that make a good Christmas movie? No. Although maybe if done right. But
I mean, who says that, you know, Christmas movies always need to be happy? You know, there are some
good
you know,
point.
there are some Christmas movies that, you know, are you can be absolutely miserable in, or they show you how terrible maybe this time of year is for some people. Krampus, I think that was 2016 or 2015. Krampus kind of tackles, you know, that sort of, you know, like the cult of consumerism and how much it controls our lives, and then also just how much we're willing to accept, how much BS and kind of like torment we're supposed to accept from family for the sake of tradition for the holidays. I won't talk about this movie. I do know that Eyes Wide Shut takes place during Christmas. I haven't seen it though, so I'm going to forego talking about that. But there's another horror movie called Better Watch Out. That it essentially takes on this idea of toxic masculinity, but within teenagers, and how essentially like this idea of youthfulness and I don't know, like innocence. Like this youthful innocence can be sort of corrupted and make people do like sadistic things. Essentially, it's kind of like a little bit like a reverse Home Alone, where these kids are trapped inside of their house and there's like a killer who's trying to pick them off. And then there's an excellent twist at the end of Act 1 that, for anybody listening, I don't want to spoil it for you. It is just it's kind of cool. It's a very mean-spirited Christmas movie though. But it does also kind of end on like a hopeful note. And I think, for me at least, I think that's kind of where I'll take a lot of liberties and say like, oh yeah, like definitely a Christmas movie, you know? So it's not, for me, it's at least not just like a setting or, you know, like the ambiance, but it has to do with your message, how clearly across you get your message, and bonus points if it ends on a hopeful note, because as dark and trying as this season is, you know, I do feel like a lot of the traditions that we have, a lot of the things that we do, they're meant to bring people closer together, you know, whether that's family by relation or found family. I do feel like this season is supposed to bring us closer together and just help us finish off the year on a positive note.
Right. And I mean, you sold me at Reverse Home Alone. I'm there. I want to see that.
Now, Better Watch Out doesn't have all of those things that I just finished talking about, but yeah, it's an interesting movie. I encourage people to go watch.
It is cool because traditionally speaking, they're Christmas time is a time for ghost stories, so there's
Yeah.
always been like that element of horror there. And I don't know if it's like particularly tied to Christmas, or maybe it's just because it's in winter.
Mhm.
But looking back like on history and stuff, that was the thing. Storytelling has always been humanity's, it's like the one constant,
Yeah.
and I kind of feel like we'll sit down and watch Christmas Story or It's a Wonderful Life. Christmas Story is like on repeat all day on TBS on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
They didn't have that back then, so they would tell stories. And I think the most entertaining stuff was the horror stuff,
Yeah.
because that's what elicits like such intense emotions and just feelings out of people. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a big horror film guy,
Mhm.
but I'm always down for a little Christmas chills. I haven't seen Krampus. It's on my to-do list. I haven't seen any of the Black Christmases. Those are on my to-do list.
Oh yeah, I wanted to get through them this year, and I
Mhm.
technically haven't yet. So
But you mentioned aliens. Let's jump into Doctor Who Christmas specials.
here we go. Let's go, bro. Let's do it.
So Doctor Who was a show that started, I want to say,
1963. Isn't it 1963?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Early 60s. Went pretty strong until the 90s, stopped, and then came back in the mid 2000s. But when they came back, every year they had a Christmas special. Every year until Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, they had a
Mhm.
Christmas special. So that was like until very recently. So it was like 10, 11 years straight.
Man, that's
Yeah.
a lot of specials.
That's a lot of specials. It's always weird because that's not even just the Doctor Who thing. That's everything. Downton Abbey had Christmas specials, and they always act like I guess a season finale, because you have your core season of 8 episodes or whatever. Like Downton's 8, and season ends on a big cliffhanger. Well, then the Christmas special is technically like episode 9, and more stuff happens, and then some things are, some story arcs are closed, some things are pay off, and then that's technically your real season finale because you still have more months to wait till the next season.
Mhm.
But Doctor Who, there are some really good episodes, but I wouldn't consider them like Christmas episodes. They just take place at Christmas,
Yeah.
But then there's others that really lean hard into the Christmas side of things.
Mhm.
And there is one, it reminded me, there was one that it was like Aliens meets Inception.
Oh yeah.
Starring Santa Claus.
Yeah. That was the one where Nick Frost played Santa.
Yeah, Nick Frost of all people plays Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Now it's not my favorite Doctor Who Christmas, but it's up there. It's maybe like my second favorite.
Yeah.
But essentially, yeah, the Doctor and Clara, they find themselves like in the North Pole. It's like a research station. They don't know how they got there, but they find that there's essentially face hugger aliens killing people.
Mhm.
And I just recommend you watch it because there's definitely a dreamlike quality to it that makes you question. One is Doctor Who, so there's aliens and all this other stuff. So you have to question, like, wait a second, is Santa Claus real? Does he exist in this Doctor Who universe, or is this something else?
Yeah.
Is he an alien? What's going on? Things aren't adding up. These aliens are essentially killing you in your sleep, which is like one of the scariest things. You're literally afraid to go to sleep. And it's actually kind of a dark episode because a lot of it is about grief. Just the point in the Doctor Who story that takes place. And the episode is called Last Christmas. And it's like, it's always your last Christmas until the next one or something like that. But
Something like that.
yeah, to someone, it's always going to be their last Christmas. I'm like, oh crap, that's dark. But it was a very, like you said, it was a hopeful ending. And as dark as it got, it had that Doctor Who sense of hope at the end. I'm like, okay. Which was kind of rare for the Peter Capaldi era. But
Yeah.
I like
definitely.
it. And I still, man, I don't want to go off a tangent. I'm just going to throw it out there. Peter Capaldi could easily be the best Doctor in the franchise, but he didn't have the episodes to back it up.
Yeah.
And that really bumps me out.
Yeah. Thanks, Stephen Moffat.
Yeah. And see, Moffat too, like I like a lot of his stuff, but like once he became showrunner and like things just started getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And it's just like, okay, well, I don't know. There's got to be some kind of formula, because there was a nice reset when Jodie Whittaker came in as the new Doctor.
Mhm.
But even then, the second season was better than the first. But even then, a lot of stuff was like, okay, you're just getting crazier. It's not really. You can only raise the stakes so much, you know. The world's in danger again. Okay, the universe is in danger. Okay, all of time is in danger. It's like every Doctor Who showrunner has that same pattern. And it's like, okay, give me something new.
Yeah.
And Jodie Whittaker doesn't get Christmas specials. She gets
Holiday specials.
Holiday specials, and it's technically just a New Year's special.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So if anybody in the BBC is listening to this, please give Jodie Whittaker an actual Christmas special.
this year might be one, because I still don't think, as of recording this, they haven't announced the air date for it. So I'm holding out hope. Maybe they drop it on Christmas and just surprise everyone.
Hopefully, yeah. That would be a real Christmas miracle.
Yeah. All right. So what about you? We're talking about Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite Doctor Who Christmas special?
Look, man.
I think I know. I think there's only one.
I am a simple guy.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me that there's going to be a Christmas special that takes place on an alien planet, has some sort of lovelorn, like romantic, time lost, star-crossed lover thing to it, and then you throw in a flying shark. Yeah, I'm gonna be a happy camper. My favorite Doctor Who Christmas special is A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, it's literally called A Christmas Carol.
A Christmas Carol. And essentially, yeah. And, yes, we can say that The Muppets is technically the more accurate of the Charles Dickens, adaptations. But we can be as loose with our adaptations as we need to be, when it comes to Christmas Carol. I think that's one of the coolest things about this, is that it isn't just a straightforward adaptation, because they could have technically done that. They had the what was it, the series 9 episode with Eccleston, where he goes back in time and meets Charles Dickens on Christmas Eve, and there's ghosts, and that was really fun. But this is different, because this is taking the idea and the themes of that Dickens classic, and it is transposing it into just this Doctor Who episode that's about this bitter old man,
played by Michael Gambon.
Who is forced to he's forced to just see his life as he has lived it, and reconcile with the fact that, this, I don't know, life didn't make him the way he is. He made him the way he is. He is bitter by his own hand. He is lovelorn and without his love, literally because of his own actions. And yeah, it's great. And it kind of ends on on a happy, tragic note.
Yeah,
because it's we know some things aren't going to happen. Or the things that we do know that happen, they technically have a sad ending, but it's part.
But so did the original story,
Yeah.
He was already an old man when he comes to this realization, and there's a lot he can't change.
Yeah.
Except what he does from here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's it technically doesn't matter at what age you find, that, source of joy or that sort of outlook on life, but it is just so it is kind of sad, but it still ends happily. People still end up together, and it is still a joyous occasion.
dude. And like the sadness to me, just like I don't think sadness is necessary for Christmas, but to me that's part of it. You know how we're just saying like horror and being scared, that terror has a place. So does the sadness. Christmas is all about the ending of like that year, at least the way we see it now more traditionally, because it is at the end of our year. It's the end of our year, and New Year's is the beginning. It's that hope. So it's all kind of tied in. You're thinking about all your loved ones, those who are here and those who aren't. It's just a lot of reflection, and I think it's just very human to feel that sadness when reflecting. And so the Doctor Who episode, the fact that Michael Gambon plays this sci-fi Scrooge-like character, but they also cast him as Scrooge's dad, says a lot about the character and the themes of this little Christmas story. That just says a lot. I love it. I love the story of A Christmas Carol. Original, Muppets, Doctor Who. Andrew Lincoln just played Scrooge on stage.
Oh.
Yeah, dude. Coral. Coral, get yourself a goose. The biggest Christmas goose you can find.
A Christmas coral.
I'll wrap the stuff and things.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, dude. Scrooge, well, because he has the beard. It's not as scraggly. He still has the beard, and like the picture I saw, it's like covered in frost and stuff. I just want to see him walking around with like that giant handgun he has. Oh man, I love it, dude. Oh god, Rick Grimes is Scrooge. Who would be the ghost?
Oh geez, I mean, take your pick. Anybody who's died.
Well, one, Robert Kirkman and AMC would choose Negan because they love Negan.
Yeah.
I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I just hate that character, and not in the way he's supposed to be hated. I just hate that character. You know, that's why I stopped watching. But anyway, no. It's Christmas episode, so I'm going to try not to curse. Fudge Negan. Fudge him.
You already said the Die Hard line. You can't like take it back now.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon. Oh, Merry Christmas, Mr. Falcon. No, okay. So real quick, because I really don't care about Walking Dead at this point. But if we're going to do it, Rick would be Scrooge. The ghost would be Herschel.
Which ghost? There's.
Well, no. Like there's three, right?
There's three. Technically, there's four because there's Jacob Marley.
Who's the one who like goes with him the whole way? There isn't, right? There's three different ones.
Yeah, there's three different. Matthew.
Oh damn.
Ghost of Christmas Past, Present, and Future.
Okay, so in the past, it's gonna be Shane and Lori, the family, because they're all dead.
Yeah. Okay, that's true.
Hey.
Spoilers, by the way, for anybody who hasn't started The Walking Dead.
No one cares. Present will be Michonne because he's in love and she's looking for her man.
Okay.
Future would be Daryl because he's gonna outlive everyone. I thought you were dead, Rick. I thought you were dead, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I kind of want to make this now. That's gonna be the Rick Grimes movie. It's gonna be Christmas Carol.
Okay. Can I segue? Rick Grimes Carol. Can I segue?
Yes.
Into a Christmas Carol adjacent adaptations.
Okay.
Because there is, so this is kind of like what kind of what the Doctor Who Christmas special does, where it like takes the themes of and then transposes it to like its own story. There is a Batman story that kind of does the same thing, except it takes place the night before Halloween.
Okay, I know where we're going with this.
Yeah, I forget who writes it, but Tim Sale does the art, and essentially like Batman stops the Penguin from like robbing a bunch of like rich socialites, and at this point in his career, Batman is just like he's throwing himself into the whole thing, and he's basically just Batman, and Bruce Wayne is just sort of like this like this alter ego that he doesn't like to be. He just doesn't like to be around. So he comes home. It's like I think it says midnight. He comes home at midnight, and on his door he sees the ghost of his father. And then as he's about to go to sleep, his father comes and tells him that essentially the same Jacob Marley thing. His father like spent so much time away from his family that now he's sort of like trapped and has to like serve so many years, being, like this restless spirit. Bruce Wayne is now on the same path because he is not taking the time for himself to do the things that he said he would do as Batman, or do all the good. So then he has to go and be guided by the three spirits. I believe Christmas Past is Poison Ivy. Christmas Present is, of course, the Joker. I also kind of like, let me just say, I also kind of like that it doesn't really matter in what adaptation or how you're doing it. But the Ghost of Christmas Future is usually always death or the Grim Reaper, or some sort of form of that. And so it's really cool. It's really interesting. And of course it ends on Halloween. So yeah.
Wait, so who was it in this one?
Oh, it's just like the Grim Reaper. It's
literally okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's interesting because sitting on my desk right now is Batman Noel.
Ah.
Oh man. Written and drawn by Lee Bermejo. Yeah.
He's done a lot of very fantastic work for DC Wildstorm. He does a lot of or Vertigo. He did a lot of covers for Constantine. A pretty interesting run on Constantine as well.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, just the artwork in this book is beautiful. The story is great. It essentially, it's kind of frameworked with like the Bob Cratchit and Tiny Tim, but it's just this street guy, this hustler, and like I think Joker's trying to kill him because he failed his job or whatever, and Tiny Tim is the guy's kid. So it's kind of from their perspective, what does the kid see of the Joker? What does he see of his dad? What does he see of Batman? For someone that young, like what are those impressions it leaves on him? So it's a nice framework, but through that story, we get Batman who is visited by, it's the exact same thing, the three ghosts. So the ghost of the past is Catwoman, and the art it's all drawn with like their old school costumes. Catwoman's purple with pink, or with the purple with the ears and the whiskers. Batman has the old school, the gray and blue, and they're talking, and you see like the scars that she has left him over their years of battle. And the Ghost of Christmas Present is Superman, because he's the ideal, and it's just you really see the difference between both his and Batman's mindset. And then the Ghost of Christmas Future is the Joker, because the Joker's not going to kill Batman. Batman's going to kill himself in the pursuit of this endless thirst for justice. It's so cool because like it has the empty grave, and they're in the cemetery just like the stories, and it's Joker, and I'm like, man, it's such a cool story. I love it. The Batman movie, Robert Pattinson, the outfit is loosely inspired by this artwork from Batman Noel. You can even tell by the way the bat is shaped and the way it just looks like a very leather,
like outfit. Leather and armor sort of.
Yeah, like a leather armor. Yeah. So many things about that book I just love.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I have to lend it to you next Christmas. Man. Well, dude, like when we were doing this, I'm like, oh man, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Just Christmas, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Christmas stuff. Now that I'm thinking about it, There are several Batman episodes of the animated series, the original animated series.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the 90s original anime series.
It is just Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know, but there are previous animated series to that. But the definitive one,
Yeah.
the 90s, the ones we grew up on,
Yes.
Kevin Conroy is the Batman.
Yes.
And there's a few in there. I remember the one where it's Batman and Robin and they have to hunt down the Joker. I remember one with Harley and Ivy. I just remember it being Christmas. I don't know the plot or anything. However, there was I think it was a Gotham City Sirens comic. And that was the first, I don't know if it's like for real or it was just for me, but that was the first time I read anything with Harley's family. I was like, oh, I'm like, that's really cool. So you see who her dad is, and you see who the dad is, and you can see how she would fall for a guy like Joker. You know, because he just kind of has this similar face and smile, and he's very manipulative. And then supportive mother, but also hard, and like, but she's the type of mom who just kind of like lets things be. Like she won't even stand up for Harley. Like, oh no, let's just not talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
And then the little brother who just wants to punch his sister. So it's a very dysfunctional family, and it was really cool to see that, and it was really well done. Meanwhile, like Poison Ivy goes to South America. I don't remember what Catwoman is doing. I think this is the period like when Batman's dead.
Oh, okay.
So like she meets the Bat family for Christmas, and like Dick is the new Batman. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of awkward, but in the end, when it comes down, like our real family is us, and it's Harley, Ivy, and Catwoman, you know? So that was cool. That was a nice little one. I don't remember the issue number. Gotham City Sirens. Go check it out.
Yeah.
Let's see. I should have made a list of things to talk about. I don't know.
Yeah.
What else? Okay, I got one.
Okay.
Same theme of Christmas Carol and science fiction. It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
That's one, like, I have to watch it every Christmas, or not on Christmas, but during that time, you know?
Yeah.
It's definitely, it's the same type of Christmas Carol story. It's not exactly like Scrooge meeting the ghost, and it's not about the ghost kind of trying to turn this angry, bitter old man. Most of the story is the downfall, you know? You see, which is something like we actually, like, as a culture and society, we're really getting off on that right now. We love seeing the good guy turn bad, you know? Ever since the mid 2000s, man, that's who our heroes have been in the movies and on televisions. We want to see Walter White succeed, you know? Or not even that. We want that to happen, but we're loving seeing his downfall.
Yeah.
You know? Same thing with Don Draper, who in the beginning is this presence, this force, this rock, and we slowly love to watch him crumble. You know? Jax Teller, Sons of Anarchy, it's the same thing. Even though, yeah, they're biker gangs, so they're probably not the best moral people, but we do love to watch that story. We love to see the good man fall, his downfall. And hopefully maybe he can spiral out or not, either way. And that's what It's a Wonderful Life is, you know? You see Jimmy Stewart, who is perfect casting, and you see him slowly turn from this good man into just this angry, bitter man. And then it's like that. I don't even know how long it is. It's probably not even half the movie, right? The whole part with Clarence at the end. Like,
honestly, I think that's just the third act.
Yeah, it's just the third act.
Yeah.
He ends up meeting an angel, and they get set into this parallel universe where Jimmy Stewart doesn't exist. And this is the story of, oh, I wish I hadn't been born.
Yeah.
So this is a story of his character had never been born. All these things would have happened in just Bedford Falls. Everything would have been terrible. So I like it because it's not really time travel, but it's alternate universe. It's just enough little sci-fi for me to pull in, you know? And then there is a big sense of like some spirituality, which is always there with Christmas,
Mhm.
because there's God and an angel are in the story.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. That's kind of the thing that we keep coming back to is storytelling, and especially with Christmas stories or stories about the end of the year, the solstice or anything. Like they do sort of kind of come back to some sort of spirituality, or there's there is some sort of higher power that's kind of at work. Yeah. So yeah, and It's a Wonderful Life does kind of have this this kind of like Twilight Zone-y third act, and again, it all just serves to sort of show that like we can become sort of better people, or even in like George Bailey's cases, like the hardships that he's going through, it's all part of life. And it's not the end. It's hard right now. It might be the hardest that it's ever been, but he's going to overcome it because he's overcome so much already. And yeah, like him never having been born, it affects people. His life doesn't just affect him, it affects other people. His choices affect other people. And that's one of the things that I really like. And that is, so it does, it is also kind of like a Christmas Carol in that. It's just that we're focusing more on, like you said, like George Bailey and like his downfall, him sort of losing his way, not becoming like a criminal or a bad person or anything. It's just that like he is trying to make his life work. He's trying to make the life of his family, the life of this town, he's trying to make it work. And he feels he has all of that burden on him. And so it just it gives him a resentment. It gives him this bitterness inside. And when things don't turn out the way that he thought, and it is gonna end up in some sort of terrible situation, that's where he has his crisis. And that's where we have our Ghost of Christmas alternate, our Ghost of Christmas elsewhen. Like Clarence comes down and says, okay, then you've never been born. And we get to see kind of how traumatic it is. I will say, I think that it's kind of funny that for George Bailey's wife, George's like worst nightmare for her is that she just becomes like a quiet, lonely librarian. Like, she's probably enjoying that, but
without me, she's going to die old and alone with her cats.
Oh man, a different time, I guess. And so we have to take that into account. But on that serious note, yeah, it is. I think that's what the best sort of Christmas stories do. They bring out people's character, and they usually bring out the better parts of people's character, or they show them that it's not always going to be bad. Yeah.
And like that could have easily been. It's interesting how it's never been remade. And I'm sure that there's movies that are very loosely based off of it. Mm-hmm. In fact, I wanted to do mine. Remember my goth rendition?
Yes, I do.
It's a Wonderful Life.
I think about it every day.
And Clarence the Angel is played by Billy Idol. Yes. Mm-hmm. But you could easily go the cheesy Lifetime movie or Hallmark, because it is, like I said, God and a literal angel are in the cast. They're the characters, Mm-hmm. You could have really made this like way over the top, but they really did it in such a unique and lovable way. Clarence, he's like an angel in training, so he has all this wisdom, but it's almost like Winnie the Pooh wisdom. Like he doesn't really know that he's giving it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love how he's just like this, like he's kind of this force of chaos, is bumbling his way through, and in the process he's helping George Bailey find that joy again. Mm-hmm. And it's just very magical. And I love it. And there's like a stage reading, I'm pretty sure it already passed, but Pete Davidson was going to be playing George Bailey.
Oh my God.
The internet gave him so much hell for it. And he's like, guys, it's a stage reading. Like, don't worry about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, that would be. He's like, yeah, like but again, I don't want to see that movie remade. I would much rather have some kind of adaptation, you know, which sure, let's get Pete Davidson. I think he's like the biggest underdog as far as live comedy right now. I don't know. Well, I mean, nobody's liked him. Everybody, the internet's been hating on him ever since he joined SNL. And don't even get started after him and Ariana Grande split. Internet wanted to kill him. But, you know, I think from what I've seen of him and what he's done, like, I really I like his work. I like what he's put out there. I think it'd be interesting to see what he does. I want to see him in a movie. Did you see the trailer for Palmer with Justin Timberlake?
No.
Yeah, he's like this ex-criminal who goes back home, small town. So automatically no one wants to give him a second chance because he used to be like the star quarterback, and then he did something that threw him in jail. And now he's out. And he's a janitor like at this high school or whatever, and no one wants to give him a second chance. Well, he ends up like his neighbor takes off and leaves her kid behind. And he's this young kid, probably less than 10 years old, who's very effeminate. And you see it in the trailer, like Palmer, the main character, he's kind of like, you know, you're a boy, right? And he's very much like not understanding. You start to see him growing, and the two are growing together, and he takes this father figure to the kid, and he ends up having to defend this kid, this young boy from this town that, one, doesn't like criminals, two, does not like this little boy who's dressing up like a girl. And I'm like, I'm just crying in the trailer already. I'm like, oh my God. And then the kid's real dad shows up, and that throws so there's going to be courtroom drama in this as well. I'm like, oh God. But that's something I would like to see Pete Davidson in. Something where like the whole world is against him, but you really want him to succeed like that, you know?
Wait a second. Is Pete Davidson not in this movie?
No, it's Justin Timberlake.
Oh my God. I was like, wait a minute. When does Pete Davidson come in? Wait, is Timberlake the dad? Oh my God.
No, that's what I was saying. No. I want to see him in a role like that.
Oh my goodness. All right, fine. Look, I don't give Pete Davidson much of a second thought. I think he's a pretty good comedian.
Well, you can give him a second thought for Christmas, Sam.
Oh my God. Okay, that is my Christmas. That is my goal for this Christmas, is that I will give Pete Davidson a second thought.
Because if you don't, he'll know.
Oh, this went off the rails real fast.
Yeah, I know, man. Geez, let's see. What other hot takes do we have? I got one.
Okay.
One of my favorite Christmas movies is also one of my favorite Star Trek movies, and is generally hated by the fandom, and that's Star Trek Generations.
Yes. Give it to me. Yes.
You said it perfectly. Star Trek Generations is Star Trek's version of A Christmas Carol.
It might technically be more of Star Trek's version of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Especially because, okay, spoilers for people who haven't seen Star Trek Generations. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I'm just gonna go all in. Yeah, like it is the story about one. A key part of it is kind of time travel. You know, we start off the movie where we kill off James T. Kirk, and you know, and then he doesn't come back until like the end of the second act. You know, or technically like the beginning of Act 3. Like, yeah, like it's crazy. But it is the story about loss and regret. And we see it in Picard after he loses his family in a fire back on Earth. Mm-hmm. And he sort of is like faced with the fact that his family is gone, and he is the last of his family. And he always figured that it was never on him to sort of carry on the family name, because that's what his brother was there for. His family would go on. And now that's not true. And now it's sort of affecting his ability kind of to captain, but more so to just grasp this threat that's now unfolding. A threat which just so happens to involve time travel. Or technically time travel is like a side effect, but it involves another person who has lost his family to the Borg, and he is trying to get back into this place, the Nexus, where his family is still alive. And it's this dream world. It is this world that doesn't exist. And yet pieces of people who go in there are left behind. And that's all that Zorin is trying to get back to. And when Picard gets there, he's met by the family he never had at Christmas time. And it's one of the most, I'm going to say it, this is a hot take. It's one of the most magical moments in cinema. Even if it's not shot that great, even if it has studio lighting, whatever, like, I don't care. The fact that we have this man who has this much guilt inside of him, goes into this dream world and is confronted with this family, this alternate life that is absolutely perfect. It's also very Dickensian. And that kind of weirded me out. Like, everybody just looks like they came from the staged version of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
But it's his family. You know, he has a wonderful, loving wife. His nephew who died in the fire is alive. And like that, like, and he wants to stay. He wants to be there. And then there's just these pieces of an explosion that keep like showing themselves in the glimmer of an ornament or a Christmas light, and it brings him back out of that. And it's
heartbreaking. It's like, it is his choice, but that's kind of the moment too where he comes to terms with it, you know, and he makes that choice to leave. And the whole thing is sold by Patrick Stewart. You know, he is such a phenomenal actor, and I think that's kind of what you're getting at with that scene. Like, Star Trek Generations itself, it's not the best of the Star Trek franchise. Me personally, I love it. When you look at the greatest cinema movies of all time, it's not really going to be considered up there. There's a lot better Star Trek movies, but that scene, that whole sequence, is sold by Patrick Stewart. Oh my God, man. I love it. You know, everything you just said. And then when he sees his nephew, Renee, you know, and they're just talking, and like that whole scene, just like so much of the greatest acting performances ever, so much is about what is not being said. And he just looks at me and he even tells him, he's like, Renee, come here. And he just looks at him. He kneels down to his level and he's just looking into his eyes, and he gives him this hug, you know, and it's just tearing you apart because, one, Renee didn't just die. He burned alive in a fire, you know, and add that onto everything Picard is feeling. Oh, and asterisk note as well, we meet Renee and his father in the series. So if you watch the series, you remember it. And a couple months ago, I saw that episode for the first time. Such a great episode. The acting is so phenomenal. And it was heartbreaking when it ended, because it ends on a hopeful note. But I know what happens to them.
Yeah.
So like a couple of years after they make that episode, they make this movie. And oh man, dude. So it's not so much the Scrooge character, but it's more of the George Bailey type story about what could have been. And let's not forget to mention, this is the only Star Trek movie that features Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan.
I know.
Who's just the fountain of wisdom, and there's so many little magical moments in that movie. Like that to me is Christmas. I'm like, yes. Even despite the controversial death of Kirk, it was also fun having William Shatner and Patrick Stewart playing off each other, you know, and riding horses in Montana, you know, and then having a very Victorian kind of Christmas. Those aren't typical Star Trek locales, you know?
Yeah.
So I just really I had fun. Malcolm McDowell plays Zorin. who is a phenomenal villain, and you could tell he's just eating that role up. Sam, time is the fires in which we burn.
I mean, I think it's a great performance. I know Malcolm McDowell had such a bad time making that movie, though, that he swore he'd never go back to Star Trek, which is unfortunate.
So good,
but I mean,
man.
you know, he gives such a tremendous performance. He's the anti-Picard in this. You know, he's not even trying to do anything in his mind that is terrible. He's trying to get back to his family. He's just willing to go to extreme measures to do that.
Right.
And that's where, you know, he puts, you know, the lives of, you know, millions of people at stake. So it's like it's villain because of circumstances, whatever. But yeah, he's an interesting antithesis to Picard. And yet they have that moment where after Picard just found out that, you know, his family has been burned alive, and Zorn is asking him if he can go back to his laboratory to finish his experiments. They have a conversation about time, and time is the fire in which we burn, and that like stops Picard in his tracks, and he just says like we lose so much of our lives to just chance and obliviousness. Like if we could like control that, you know, like our lives would be so much greater. And yeah, it's just like, oh man, like again, you have two kind of titans of acting, you know, coming together. They don't share too many scenes together, but the scenes that they do, you can feel that like there is this connection that you're like, wow, holy crap, this is good. Christmas movies need to be about great acting and hopefulness, you know, like
I feel like it was a missed opportunity. They could have done so much, because what that movie did right, they did really right, man.
And honestly, it is just because it came after, you know, the 3-part series finale that is still talked about to this day, that people still consider, you know, like that's one of the best endings to a show. Yeah. And then they make a movie that, you know, even to the writers, they feel like, yeah, this was. It is a weird place to go after that sort of ending.
It really felt like it was just a long episode with a killer budget. You know, it didn't really have the same oomph. But then you get into like that really deep stuff, and it's like, wow, this is really there. And it's kind of interesting too, because I think those movies are underrated even by the fandom.
Oh yeah.
Now that I'm finally going through the Next Gen series for the first time as an adult, and I'm really, you know, it's a different take than when I was a kid, you know, and I'm actually seeing what a lot of this stuff is about. I appreciate the movies a lot more. There's a lot more growth. Even in their last one, Nemesis, which is not a very good movie, there are so many cool little references in it and character arc growth. If you watch like the first couple episodes of the show and then watch Nemesis, it's kind of cool to see where these characters end up. And at least it makes it fun, you know? So I recommend giving that a chance. You want to know what's not fun? Happiest Season. I haven't watched it, but that's what everyone's telling me. Did you watch it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's Kristen Stewart and who's the Mackenzie Davis? Is that her name?
Yes.
Okay, so the cast is amazing. There's so many people in there, but essentially it's these two women. All I know from the plot is that they're a couple. They're in a relationship. They're going to visit Mackenzie Davis's family for the first time at Christmas. Twist, she hasn't come out to them, even though she tells her girlfriend she did. So Kristen Stewart has to essentially pretend she's still in the closet and just, you know, oh, we're just buds. And that's essentially the plot of the movie. But everyone's telling me this movie is depressing because everyone's so shit.
Oh, geez.
But I'm still willing to give it a shot because, like you said, it doesn't have to be happy. to be Christmas movie, and everyone's liking it. They're just saying it's not a fun watch.
Yeah.
So it's on the to-do list for sure.
Yeah, I mean, sure. And I'm, just the subject matter is just it's a different sort of horror than Krampus or Better Watch Out. It's like this is like it's a relationship horror. It's a horror that you can relate to. That you may have been a part of. You may currently be a part of. So yeah, I also have not seen it. I am going to watch it.
I'm always down for more case stew.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wait a second. Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis.
Yes.
All right. I'm down for more case stew and Mac D. Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
But yeah. I mean, yeah. This, and that's kind of the thing. That Christmas is complicated.
Yeah.
I know people who don't celebrate Christmas, and not because it's not their religion or anything like that, or it's something that they don't want to celebrate. To them, It is just another day. And that's fine. That is completely fine. I working in retail for so long. It is sort of hard to get into like a fun sort of jolly spirit. When you have people, yelling at you over the phone about orders, or you have, customers banging on your door, when you aren't open 5 minutes before you're supposed to open, Christmas, the end of the year, this holiday, it does tend to bring out some of the worst tendencies in people.
Yeah.
Which is why I think the opposite is also true. I do also think that for a majority of the population, it might bring out the best side, or at least a more loving side.
Yeah. I think that's for everything, like anything just in history.
Well, true.
That's true,
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, the whole reason why we have, like these sort of end of the year celebrations goes back to, like you said, the time before there was, electricity or Die Hard action movies, or anything like that, when people were just in huts or cabins or whatever, and they just had each other to survive. They came together to celebrate the end of the season, the end of the year, and, this time that they have with each other. You're absolutely right. Like, for some people, this will be their last Christmas. For the rest of us, it will also be our last Christmas until the next one. So it's a season, and it's a time of year that is fraught with this sadness and this great joy. And I think on that spectrum, everything can exist. So we can have a not so happiest movie about a lesbian couple. We can have multiple sci-fi movies about reconciliation and overcoming, your guilt. And then you can have a movie that is a fantastic actioneer that is also fraught with some interesting social commentary that many people, even within the crew, say that it's not a Christmas movie, but in all of our hearts, it is. It's a Christmas movie. So yeah, this season is complicated, and I think we just need to celebrate all the good things that we can find in that and in ourselves.
Yeah, and I think what it comes down to as well is what does this mean to you? We have coworkers who I think for Thanksgiving they all sit down as a family and watch Silence of the Lambs. Well, okay,
Wait, is that a Thanksgiving movie?
Well, it's about food for a certain character. I mean, I will not be sticking around for dessert in a movie, but
Wow.
that's their thing. I usually, depending on time and my schedule, I like to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy this time of year, because something about Christmas and the joy and the magic makes me want to feel joy and magic, and I get that from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, pardon my language, but to hell with Sam and I. If you think Die Hard's a Christmas movie, watch Die Hard. If you want to watch a depressing story starring K-Stu and Mac D, go for it. Knock yourselves out. Do what you got to do for you. Especially if you're alone. Man, treat yourself. Pamper yourself. Take care of yourself. And if you have to suffer and be around others, try to enjoy your time with them, because we don't know when we'll be around them again. So yeah, whatever. I love a Star Trek movie that most Star Trek fans hate, and I like to watch it at Christmas. So take that, internet. But yeah, anything else, Sam? Any other Christmas hot takes or Christmas stories you want to bring up real quick as we wrap this up?
Oh geez, Christmas stories? I don't know. I'm usually depressed this time of year, so I don't know. Like, look, all I'll say is that some of the better times in my life have been around my friends and my family, and a lot of those times were at Christmas. And it's, for me, I'm reminded of some of the things that are a little more important to me that I might forget, or, sort of just lose track of throughout the year, or even throughout the Christmas season, So I'll say that much on a personal note, that this is one of my favorite times of year. And
not to mention that Sam's first wedding anniversary is a mere days after Christmas. So as of right now, we're on track for a 1-year anniversary. So let's do a clap. Everyone at home, go ahead and give a clap.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you. And you know what? It's been a hell of a year.
Yeah, emphasis on the hell, but yeah.
Yeah. We didn't think that we were going to get married in December. We were actually going to wait until this March to do it, in March of 2020.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Thank God I got married in December.
I know. So like that's why we did what we did. We were like, okay, like if we can do it, then let's do it. That's
so. What you're saying is that either there was some kind of divine intervention that made y'all get married in December, or you knew what was coming. Was there time travel? Did you go to the past or an alternate reality like George Bailey?
Look, all I'll say is this. If I knew in 2019 what was going to happen in 2020, I would have invested stock in toilet paper, okay?
Yeah.
Toilet paper and face masks. That I would have put my money, I would have gone into the red in my bank just to invest in that, because I knew it would return in a couple of months.
I'm not saying Sam is from an alternate dimension. He's from an alternate dimension.
Sure. Yeah, let's go with that. Sorry, y'all. Sorry I didn't warn you about once this episode airs. This is going to be my Christmas present. It's going to be angry listeners trying to cancel me for not telling them about what was coming this year. Thanks.
Well, now you know how Captain America feels in his new alternate universe.
Oh my goodness. All right, let me just wrap this up and say that it was a crazy year. It's been a crazy year for all of us on a personal level. I'm so happy that I've had this year with my wife, Kat. She's wonderful. She's been a blessing. She's been a godsend. She's been beyond my wildest dreams and more. She's wonderful. And hopefully at this point in the episode, when she gets to it and when she listens to it, I don't want to make her cry, but I feel like this is gonna make her cry, and so I just want to say I'm sorry that I made you cry wherever you're listening to this. But I love you. I love you very much, and it's been so far. It's been a very wonderful year.
That's nice. Although she's probably at work listening to this right now, crying, and everyone's freaking out. Oh, thanks, Sam. Dude.
That's why I said I'm sorry. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Matthew? Do you have any last Christmas stories, Christmas hot takes that you want to throw out there?
No, not really. I mean, I just listened to this awesome episode. I think it's called Brain Talk on NPR. And the episode was on stoicism. And it's all like that show is all about stuff that I really don't care about. You know, there was a rage episode, blew my mind. There was an episode on what was it? Something else, but it's just like topics like I'm not really into that. But when it's on NPR, I listen. So this one was about stoicism, and it's about how most people they look at stoicism and they're like, oh, you just don't have emotions, you know? And that's wrong. That's not what it is about at all. What it is about understanding the challenge you are in. You know, this is a challenge. 2020 is a challenge. Whatever sickness you currently have is a challenge. Busting your knee at work is a challenge. How do you overcome that? You know, and it's basically just a way of thinking and remembering like this is temporary. You know, if you can get through this, it's just temporary. He made I forgot, I believe his name was William Irving, the author of this book. He was saying, he's like, one day, he's like, I'm an old man and I'm not going to be able to cut the grass anymore. He's like, and I'm going to think back to this moment and say, man, those were the good old days. So that's all I want to leave everyone with, you know, just remember the good stuff, try and hold on to it. I'm very lucky, like the circumstances I was in right before the quarantine was leading me in one direction, and I was really looking forward to it. And all of that got postponed. It all got put on hold or canceled. But in a way, it was good because I think if I had been in that situation when all this went down, I would have had a very lonely year. You know, I would have been in quarantine by myself. I don't know what that would have done to me. I would have been in George Bailey's alternate reality. So I just like to think back, you know, this is a terrible year, but I had some really good memories and I got to spend more time with those who are close to me, you know. Mm-hmm. But then on the downside, I got to see my brother less. However, this is the whole reason we're doing this dang podcast is quarantine, so me and Sam can hang out. Yeah, just hang on to the good stuff because we're going to cherish it if we're lucky enough to get older and to think back on it. So a lot of things I'm grateful for, and I hope you are too. And believe it or not, I'm actually looking forward to 2021 and all the challenges that comes along with it. So
yeah, the things that we're going through right now, they're not over. There's still a lot of work to do. You know, there's still a lot of things we have to overcome. But as long as we're all in it together, I think we're gonna make it. And I think we can come out of 2020 on top, and we'll be ready to face 2021 head on.
Yeah, definitely. So we want to thank everyone for joining us on this. I guess this is technically episode 12 of our podcast. It's so cool. We have a small following, but we're seeing, you know, different people from around the world popping up who are listening. Why? I have no idea, but thank you. Definitely. Just keep your eyes and ears open for us come 2021, because we the whole goal right as of right now is to build that community, you know. So we're going to start jumping on to the social medias. And if you want to talk, we can talk. Shoot us some questions or just chat or whatever. Again, this isn't specific to Lost. This is just all storytelling. That's what we want to talk about. So look for us in 2021. There's not going to be a new episode next week because we're taking off for the holidays. But we'll see. Either the first or second Monday in January, we're going to jump back. We're going to start off the second half of season 1 of Lost. And we also have some other crazy ideas coming soon for the podcast that I'm excited to show you guys. So, as always, you can find me on Twitter at _Matt Jimenez and or Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
And as always, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Reel, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
Yes. And don't forget to get lost and happy Christmas.
Bye, all.